the one where he was in Georgia in the
Was it
backwoods.
the Smokey and the Bandit?
No, no.
Oh, yeah. I've never
This.
actually seen that one,
Oh, you've never. Oh, you. Oh my God,
but I know
Josh.
that song. Yeah.
Right? What was it? What was the name of the movie? I forget the name of the movie. It's got some weird scenes in it. Just
So
trust
I
me.
heard.
So it's got like and there's some pig squealing in it. So I'll leave
Yeah,
it at I'll leave
yeah.
it at that. Yes. Oh my
But
God.
but the theory is I'm gonna do like a greatest hits of like agile silly songs.
Yeah.
Uh like people having questions and what do they do. So I've actually been recording some of them on my phone. I can play you
Did you ever see
let's
that
see.
guy, Byers, his name? I think it's Chuck Byers. He does acoustic songs.
Yeah.
He
I guess I
on
could
LinkedIn.
ask for some help, but my singing is bad.
No, he you might like we might partner
I
with him.
love transparency, but it's
That's
scary. So scary.
I got more.
no, no.
We only need one person for product owner, scrum master, and everything else, yeah.
What else do I got here?
Stop! Stop! Are you trying to kill me?
I love transparency.
Oh, we already did transparency song.
Oh,
Silos. Everybody loves silos.
Is
'Cause
that
it's not
you?
my job.
Oh
I
my
tried to do
God.
different voices because
Yes, you
if
did.
not,
Yes,
and not
you
very
did.
well.
Uh, Josh,
Yes, sir.
I can't even. What the hell was that? Oh my God. So, you know what? That's probably the first thing I've ever. You're normally pretty good at what you try, right?
Yeah,
Like pick
singing
it. Yeah,
anything musical is bad.
that ain't it. Let me tell
No,
you.
yeah.
Oh my God.
No, it's do I lean into that and make it as bad as possible, or do I get
What
actual
what do you
help?
mean? You weren't trying? That was your best effort?
Yes, yes, it was. It most
Oh my
definitely was.
oh my gosh. The Josh Anderson's greatest hits of agile songs.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
that's coming to a social network near you.
I I I'm I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. Uh,
yeah, those are the crazy ideas that go on in Josh's head.
I mean, you keep going.
Yeah,
You just
well,
keep going with that.
I'm definitely gonna do that. All right. Um, today's topic. Can you do the kickoff since this is your brainchild?
I think so.
Part one.
So Metacasters, Josh and I were talking about this. We do backlog refinement for the Metacast every week, and we sort of try to brainstorm ahead, uh, see what topics have merit, put them in the queue. One of my favorite things is to do a series. So now we're opening our kimono, and you're getting a glimpse behind the Metacast. I just
Nobody
had to.
wants that.
I
Nobody wants
know.
that.
I know. That's okay. Uh, but we were talking about a few months ago. I was getting a reasonable number of people who were asking me how to start their own business, how to become independent as an agile something, not necessarily always an agile coach. How do I go independent? And it was happening frequently enough, and I was handling it individually, like coaching sessions. And not that I'm a wizard in this. It was basically just here's my experience. Um, I'm not trying to teach you it, but this is what's worked for me, and this is what's importantly what hasn't worked for me. So I've learned some hard lessons along the way. So then I had this epiphany of running a mini class and inviting people. It was it was free, and I ran it a few times. I published it. I had it to 12 seats, and it was about. I created an outline of things I thought about of starting your own business, my journey, and it filled up. The first time I announced it, it filled up like in a day, and then had a waiting list, and then I did it again for European time zones, and then I stopped. I may run it again. But I thought one of the things, it was just my view. And and as I was delivering it, I was actually thinking of inviting Josh to it, or inviting someone else and getting different perspectives. And then I thought about the Metacast, and I'm like, maybe we should run this How to Go Independent series. Not exactly what I did, but aligned with what I did, because I think it's something that a lot of people care about, they think about. And we have a lot of experience, and between Josh and I, we have diverse sets of experience. So it might be good for us to just share that diversity and the different points of view and the different journeys. So that's what we're doing today. And today is part one. Well, our vision is it's a 4-part series. I don't know if it'll go that far. It depends. And the way we wanted to start today is have a theme for each one. And today's theme is starting. And what are some initial starting aspects? And I was thinking of, we could explore vision, mission, charter, things like that. Like, what are you trying to be? What is your target? What's your why would be another way of saying it. And then I wanted to get into some budgetary items and things like that, like laying the early groundwork for enabling yourself to do this stuff. So sort of some topical items around starting. If anyone who's listening in wants to drop something in chat about another topic around starting up. We're going to get to branding the next episode. Just as a teaser, the next episode next week is going to be talking about branding. We think that's a deep and broad topic, so we're not going to touch on branding today. We're going to touch on it next week and really do a deep dive into branding. I want to hear Josh's branding story, because he has some nuance there that I'm excited to learn from. So that's the kickoff, Josh. So what are your thoughts on starting up?
Well, I want to make sure that our French listeners know that we will be getting the Bob Galen label in French for part 1, 2, 3, and if there's 4. We've only ever made it to a 4-parter, and Bob really likes to lean in.
Well, and I'll do it. This is part.
As you can tell, Bob's very fluent. He's
in French.
Conversational speaker. Got it all.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like hairball. So that's
exactly how they teach it. Yeah.
That's what I thought. I have a frosty smooth French voice, don't I? Yes.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. This is one of those things that, given today's market and where things have gone and some of the massive layoffs, anyone out there that might have been thinking about doing this, your plans might have been accelerated, not by your choice. So I think this is a timely set of episodes for folks, because like Bob, I do meet and talk to a lot of people who were rolling it around. And I was that guy, 6 years ago. Well,
yeah,
more than 6 years ago. And Bob was rightfully always on my case to do something with it, but I never did. And I, as many of you might have recently, got forced into it. And I didn't have the planning that Bob is talking about that is like accurate and things that you should do. And it caused some challenges, So this is very important for those of you that have that rolling around in your head, that we could talk through the things that worked and didn't work. Probably the stuff that didn't work will be most effective, but really hope this enables folks to have that one other bit of courage that helps you take that giant leap.
The one thing that wasn't on my initial starting, and you inspired me, Josh, to think about it. I would suggest that everyone does this, even if you don't want to become independent. Like, I think it's almost like having a contingency plan, like you have a fire plan at home, you have home insurance, you have car insurance. Why not have career insurance to some degree, like plan B or plan C? And you don't have to do, I'm not suggesting you have to do a lot in this area, but it might be worthwhile to write some things down. So even along these episodes, so I want to set the stage. I don't think this is just for people who immediately want to become entrepreneurs. I think there's a lot of stuff here that'll make you a better employee.
Oh,
It'll
yeah.
make you a better job hunter. It'll make you more confident in your own. It'll give you insights into your own abilities. So I just
Agreed.
want to lay that. I just want to lay that out there.
All right.
One of the first.
Well, let's stop
Go ahead.
talking about it. Like, let's do it. Like, let's actually create some value for our listeners here.
Well, I think the first thing is part of it is your why. What are you trying to do? Right? What's your why? And running for money, I don't think I'm doing this to make more money is the right. Even if you can, even if you immediately see that, I think the why, like looking in the mirror, and why do I want to do this? And tapping into yourself, tapping into your passion, tapping into your strengths. It would be similar to looking at a job. There's a job, sort of job description posted, and I suggest people look at the job description and look inside, look in the mirror, and say, is this a good connection for me? Look at the culture, and then look at your culture alignment and see if it's a good thing. So I think that start doing the why, jotting down your why. Why am I doing it? Am I trying to do good in the world? Is it something that I'm passionate? I think alignment to your passion, alignment to your joy is really crucial in the beginning. And it might take a little reflection time. There's what you think about that. And you may pivot a few times. I think Josh has pivoted a few times, but it's figuring out your why. Why do I want to do it? Sort of what are my service offerings in the agile space? Do I want to be a coach? Do I want to be a fractional leader? Do I want to be a trainer? Do I want to do combinations of both of those things? I also think a strength analysis that during this early period of kicking it off, you probably want to talk. I think Josh, you and I have talked about this, not in a way of you asking me, what am I good at? Like, Bob, what do you think I'm good at? But we've had these reflective, not necessarily on the Metacast, but privately talking about your strengths. So I guess what I'm saying is assess yourself and lean into your strengths. And then a lot of people lack self-awareness. So what they think is a strength may not be. The last thing you want to do is start a business leaning into a non-strength. So you really want to get a sense on that. Josh, react to some of that stuff.
One of the things that I really liked was the job description, and perhaps that's a thing that you should be able to write. You should be able to write a job description for your role, which might end up being that vision or mission for your company or whatever, or however you structure it. But to gain that clarity, and I struggled to get there right out of the gate and get it right. I wasn't totally sure. And in classic Josh style, I jumped in and started doing stuff and then adjusted as I went, and as I learned and as I did things, I quickly understood, yeah, I really enjoy this, or I really don't want to do that again. And there were some surprises. Like, I started off saying that I'm not doing training, but it got to the point where I needed money. So I did training, and I didn't hate it like I thought I would. I went in like, oh, this is going to be the worst week, but I actually enjoyed it and found it more fulfilling than I expected. So there's bits that you'll discover along the way, but I do think that the more clear you can get without getting into paralysis of
Right.
this is who I am and this is what I want to try and do, that's going to give you the capability to know where to go to find those gigs and to know who to talk to. Otherwise, you're just like blasting everywhere, and you present yourself as, one of those things that's what's the saying, the master of nothing, whatever there's a saying, like, I can do everything but I can't do anything really well.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, that's the danger.
I want to amplify what you said. It's almost you corrected me, Josh, in some
Mhm.
way that I was making it sound like this is an upfront activity. We set our direction and then we go. I actually think it is more experimental. One of the things I want to expand what you were talking about is you can experiment in your current job. So, for example, if you're a development manager, let's say you're a leader in your current job, then find opportunities to do training. Right? Maybe there's an internal training opportunity. Put a little class together or something. So start experimenting with different types of delivery mechanisms and then see if you like it. See if you get good feedback. And you're also start building your portfolio of things to provide. But I would say before you, again, the context for this series is you're in a current job and you want to become independent. So what are you actively doing strategically to create that ramp, that off ramp? So experiment with your job. As I'm thinking about it now, I was lucky to work with people that I could experiment. Coach leaders. If you're thinking about coaching, I don't care if you have a coaching certification or not. I mean, yes, read and try to spruce it up, but find someone you can coach. Be a mentor. Actively be a mentor. And yes, you're helping someone, but you're also like figuring out, hey, am I good at this? And do I like doing it?
Yeah, that's very similar to what we've talked about. We've done a handful of episodes on folks trying to move into Scrum Master roles and not knowing how to navigate that. And we've said you don't have to have a Scrum Master label to start like doing Scrum Master stuff. You can do it at home, you can do it at work, you can do it however you want to, but you can get the practice in and then be able to use that experience to go get the thing that you want. And this is the same thing. Don't wait for someone to hand you an opportunity. If you wait for someone to hand you a chance to do a thing, it's never going to happen. So you're going to have to go and find ways to make that happen for you to figure out how I can hone these skills in the position that I'm in. And I don't see how that's bad for the company at all. You know, it's not like you're stealing from them or anything. You're generating more value, which is
Absolutely.
good. So I wouldn't tiptoe around it. I would, you know, if you want to talk to your boss or whoever you work through or with, it's like, hey, I'm trying to expand some of my skills in this area. And I'd like to start doing this. I found some areas where I can do it myself, but if you can think of anything else, that would be really cool.
Yep.
I don't know of
Yep.
anybody that'd be like, no, we actually want you to not do more.
Yep. And be diverse. I love what Kenya. I know I'm trying not to be diverted from Josh and I've talked, and I'm easily. I have shiny object syndrome. So when I see comments, I'm like, squirrel, squirrel.
Yes, he's part
So
dog.
I am part dog. So, but Kenya said two things that I want to highlight. Part of this entry for this episode is who is your customer. I think that's important part of the why. Start targeting, envisioning who your customer is. Actually, these experiments can help. Is my customer teams? Is my again agile? I'm just staying in this agile bubble, but it can go to other disciplines. But teams, do I enjoy coaching teams, training teams? Do I enjoy facilitation? And really experimenting with things and trying to explore that. Kenya also brought up this notion of entrepreneurship. And I think that's what I was talking about. That's really a term that I want to land in the Metacast. So think of yourself as an entrepreneur in your current context before you become an entrepreneur. And that it's the same thing. It's just your domain is different. Your domain is an internal company versus your own or an external view. But that's that same mindset of looking broadly, looking for opportunities to grow yourself, looking for opportunities to be playful. It actually, I'm going to disagree a little bit with Josh. He's like, "Oh, you're getting paid for it." You may actually cheat a little. You may actually have to cheat a little bit. And what I mean by that is, it may not be in your job description. You may have to do some tap dancing. You may have to get creative. Bob, you know, you're the CTO of the company. Why are you training the product owners? Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch, but I'm helping Harry out or Sally out or something like that. So you may have to convince people to stretch their comfort zone or their perception. Then do that. There's also that notion of don't ask for permission, just ask for forgiveness. So just start expanding. Consulting with other people in the company. I remember for example, everyone says that. I use eye contact as an example, but I remember when Kevin Fitzgerald, our VP of sales, was looking to be agile. I sort of had this mindset that I'm consulting with Kevin in sales. One of my drivers, I didn't have the bandwidth actually, and I wanted to say no, but I'm like, he was so darned enthusiastic and he was so darned intentional about it. He was really serious. He wanted to. He's a good leader, and but the other driver for me was, it'll give me exposure to the sales organization. That's a very different kind. So it's going to start stretching my experience level across silos in companies, and that was a good thing. And again, really looking for those opportunities.
Number one, I am so happy you were the one that attempted to say that word and you nailed it 3 times. I would have fumbled entrepreneurship multiple times trying to, like, entrepreneur is one of my least favorite words because it just doesn't like flow out of my brain. So job well done there. I do want to go back to knowing your customer. There's 2 types of customers, and it can be, if you don't think about the second part, then you're going to struggle to actually get customers. Yes, your customer that you're helping might be teams or individuals within a Scrum team or whatever it is. But you also have to know who's going to sign the check. And you have to understand, is it a VP of engineering? Is it someone on the product side? Is it the CTO? And understanding there and making sure that you can help the team provide the ROI on why they want to bring you in and the value that's there. Like, if you just think about the people that I'm going to touch on a daily basis, that's important. But also, if you don't have good messaging upstream, it's going to be hard to actually close that deal. And there are some customers that I've worked with for like 8 months where someone on the team reached out, they're a fan of the podcast, they're going through something, they think I'd be a really good fit, and it's like, okay, how do we work this through your channels to actually get you to a spot to where they agree, they sign off, and they're excited. That's a challenge that, again, that I figured out along the way, that if you can work that angle or talk to somebody that's been there and help discover how to approach that. Because you really do have the 2 customers. You have the ones you're going to help on a daily basis, then you have the one that's writing the check that's paying you and making sure they're fired up and excited and ready to go to have you there.
I think that's part of the prep that we're talking about on the inside, is like, if you're, let's say you're a leader in a company, you're thinking about, you're a manager, you're a senior coach or whatever. Well, you want to look in the mirror and say, am I, like, the last thing you want to do is think about starting your company if you can't talk to your current CEO and if you can't make a business case inside, then please don't go outside. If you can't navigate different senior level perspectives, like talk to the CFO, talk to the CTO, talk to the COO. If you can't navigate those silos, if you can't navigate those different lenses, I'm not saying perfectly do it, but if you can't convince them of something inside, you're probably not going to sell yourself outside so much. So, but the good news is, practice that. Right? You're in a role now, and again, think about it. This is going to benefit you if you stay. You're going to be promotable. You're going to have more influence if you're working on this stuff, but really actively doing it. Like, you're building you're this entrepreneur. You're building this view. Part of it's branding, but part of it is almost, you're building think of it as, I'm building a company, right? I'm building this independent, and how am I going to do that? But Josh nailed it. You don't. I think there is a failure pattern where, people, they get excited at coaching teams. Someone wants to coach teams, and they're good at it, but they don't look at themselves and ask about that higher level ability to communicate, the ability to sell, the ability to connect the dots between those folks in the team, the ability to influence up. It's all part of it. That's one of the dangers of becoming a team. Some people are like, I really love team coaching. And I like it when they have that identity. And sometimes I wonder, though, are they so focused on the team that they really are not growing their ability to organizationally coach. You can be a team coach, but I think you have to be able to navigate the organization.
Yeah.
Not I think, you have to be able to navigate the organization. So, and you can't have that as a weakness. You'll be ineffective.
And it's not like there's no secrets. It's just understanding what's important to that role. The CFO, I want to make sure the money we're spending, there's a return on it, that it makes sense. How is this going to help us do XYZ? The COO, how is this going to make us more effective operationally? Like, are we going to be able to do things with less errors or faster or whatever? Can we be more confident with how we ship our software? And CEO basically is going to look at those two folks and say, like, okay, we have that, and this is going to help us do X, Y, and Z. Check, let's do it. Because most of the time, to finalize the deal, there's a Zoom meeting, a Google Hangout, a phone call in person with those roles, because they want to look you in the eye, understand what's going on. Stephen put a note in there to making sure that there's expectations that are aligned with the person that's signing the check. Big surprise. It's just like building a product. Those are your stakeholders. How do you educate them? How do you demo the progress? How do you do all of those things? So you're already trained in ways to be aligned and to stay in that manner with them. You just have to apply the patterns and practices that you use as an agile leader. Just apply it to that same thing. It's not rocket science. It's using the things that you're good at to
Right.
help you navigate a different product, and that product is you.
I love you say this often, and not too, in the last few years, Josh, but you talk about having a product view to yourself. And I don't know if I lean into that mentally as much as I should be, but it's really I think it's a good metaphor of looking, when you're a product, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're an employee, whatever you are, I think it's the right mindset to consider yourself, a product. And are you getting obsolete? And are you developing it? And what value are you bringing? And understand your customers. And that has, what the shifts are doing, etc. I wanted to talk about empathy too for your customer, and just, it's going to help you as an entrepreneur. It's not just understanding them, but it's walking in their shoes. It's real important, I think, to walk in their shoes and to understand the problems they're having. So you need to come in and you need to make their lives better. Not just, again, you could be a team level coach, but what are you doing to connect to leaders' challenges and to the organizational challenges and providing value? And it's not just talk about those things. It's like deeper understanding of what it is. They may not even be aware of things. You're observing things. And like psychological safety, you may be looking at it. They're not creating a psychologically safe environment. So they're not aware of that, but you have empathy and you have awareness of that, but you also have empathy as to why they're not doing that, and then approaching them on that. So any opportunities you have of walking in your potential customer's shoes, and like shut up looking at it from one of the mistakes that team coaches make is their lens of the world is always from the team. So I'm for the team and I'm against the leaders, or I'm for the team and I'm against the organization. What I'm suggesting as you're moving in this journey is you need to be able to take the opposite point of view. You need to be multivariant in your perspectives, right? And using empathy for that. And building that takes time to build that. Again, I don't have a recipe, so don't ask me for an algorithm, but you'll know it if you're working on that. Josh, I want to switch to budgeting soon, but I want to
let me wrap up this
go ahead.
last point. One of the more successful customers that I've ever worked with, they viewed the reason they were paying me a pretty sizable amount of money was pattern recognition, because I had done this thing that they hadn't done. And they wanted to make fewer mistakes, right? There was no promise that, hey, I'm going to come in and give you all the answers and you're never going to stub your toe. No. But they knew the value of, if Josh, having done this n number of times, can come in and look at what we're doing and help us sidestep a couple of problems,
Yep.
the money that we would spend discovering we have that problem and then fixing the problem is really
Yep.
sizable. And then you multiply that times the number of areas that you can help out. So think about those patterns that you find yourself recognizing.
Yep.
That's that special thing that you can bring, and you can start to wrap around understanding who the customers really are for that, understanding the value that you bring. Again, I didn't think of that. It's just as I was talking with them, they kept using that phrase. I was like, okay. So this is a pattern that's working for them. And I started applying it to other customers, and it really started to sink in. Okay.
Well, no, I want to.
Oh, okay.
You inspired me, Josh.
I do that all the time.
I know the term that popped into my head is playbook. And this is not, I detest external playbooks for consultants, meaning this is my playbook. So for every client, I'm going to follow the playbook, right? So I have a single recipe. I'm a one-trick pony. So don't fall into that trap. But having a journal and jotting down, as again, this is part of this, as you're this entrepreneur and you're gaining your experience, jot it down. Capture, like Josh said, capture those patterns, capture those solution patterns to problem patterns, organizational patterns, and jot them down. Start creating your playbook for yourself. This is my playbook. I'm not going to share it with anyone. This is just my sort of consultative playbook. You might even put things in, take a journaling view. What was I weak at? Right? Where are my strengths emerging? I'm good at this. Oh, you know what? Lesson learned. I need to work on this. I need to work on communicating my language. I need to learn to speak in use different words, different terms for different people in the organization. When I'm talking to teams, I'll use more agile terms. When I'm talking to execs, I need to get rid of the agile. Note to self, stop talking agile gobbledygook to C-level execs. I need to work on that and put that in your playbook.
Agreed. All right.
So now,
you ready?
Now switching gears, everyone,
Okay.
and this is a boring thing. Everyone wants.
You can't pre-label it like that. We can't have people tune out. Like,
or it's tactical.
This is
All right,
this is
you're right.
important. This is an important thing that you're not thinking of, that Bob is going to help you. Not the pattern recognition again from Bob, your consultant here. He's here to give you the answers you don't know you need.
Yeah,
that I didn't know I needed.
So everyone, you're not going to escape. You're not going to leave. You're not going to become an entrepreneur or independent. You're not going to become independent if you don't have a baseline of finances to do that. You need something, and so magic doesn't happen. It's like people, I want you to, so don't just trust me. Go out and read about folks who are starting companies, who are self-funding companies. What do? They mortgage the house. They have savings. They approach family members. And I'm not necessarily saying you have to do all of those things, but you need a buffer. You need to start building a buffer. If you have a thought that you'd like to go into this path today, you have to start establishing a budget and a buffer. Now, it's not just income. You can actually do budgeting. I'll throw myself under the bus. I don't budget, and one of the problems is this is not hubris, but I've made I have a lot of income, so I'm like, I don't need to budget. Well, then, like a moron, what I do, because I'm not budgeting, is I waste a lot of money. I have an incredible amount of waste. Potato heads. I've overpurchased potato heads. I've overpurchased stuff. And I really have wasted it. And if I brought a budget into play thoughtfully, there would be a lot of funds that I could have, sort of funneled off to savings. Now, I do have a buffer as well. But my point is, as your income is lower, or family, or depending on your financial situation, so you could do efficiency and then take those funds and create a buffer, or you can take things like a bonus that you get at work and put it, instead of taking that vacation to Greece, which is probably not a good idea right now, depending on fire season or other places, then funnel it into your buffer and start slowly quickly creating that. and be intentional about it. You're not going to get things are not going to get handed to you in your lap. You have to, I guess what I'm saying is you have to work for it. And there's a financial aspect of working for it, and just be relentless. So Josh, there's a term nowadays, is it FU money or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't necessarily like that terminology, but it's the same point of, sometimes people are handcuffed. They feel like they're handcuffed to their company. And the primary reason they're handcuffed, well, fear, but then there's the financial aspect of that. And start and measure your buffer in the number of months of independence, if that makes sense of everyone. So what is your buffer? And I don't think, a week is probably not a good idea. And you don't necessarily have to have a year or two. That would be nice, but something in there, and it's all unique. There is no, don't do my buffer, do your own buffer. Josh, react to that a little bit.
As I mentioned before Bob started talking, this is not something I did well. I got caught off guard and luckily had savings from various things that it wasn't intentionally set aside for this. It was set aside for other things. But I chose to use those funds to help me build this opportunity that I had forced upon me. There was a lunch that I went to with Bob where he said, "Josh, if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it." And he was 100% right. I wasn't as financially stable as I wanted to, but I knew that if I didn't do it then, it wasn't going to happen. And again, luckily, I had some savings that gave me like 2 months. And it got down to the last week of the money I had saved. And even we took some of the savings from my wife's retirement plan to help us live in that last month. And I had a real discussion with her and said, if I don't get this gig by Friday, then it's over and I got to go. Like, if I have to go, work a fast food restaurant or whatever it is, like, this is the end. And I understood that. And luckily or not luckily, everything paid off. Finally, some combination of hard work and luck landed my first job, and that gave me an extended runway, but it still was relatively short. So I had to keep working on that. So yeah, this is the thing that, as Bob said earlier, if you're even toying with the idea of doing this, start doing it now. Start putting a little bit away, setting a little bit aside so that when the opportunity presents itself, you can then take action. If you wait until it presents itself like it did to me and I was caught off guard and wasn't ready, then life's going to be a lot harder. And it was.
There's some creative things. Steve had talked about an idea of starting to do small coaching or consulting gigs while you have a day job. That's a perfect example of a creative way to do that. And then don't immediately spend it. This is gravy money. So what do you do with it? You can put it in your buffer and do something like that. What if you get a raise next year? You get a 3% or a 5% raise. Okay, you've been moderating at this level. Well, then don't spend the raise. Funnel it into your buffer account. You don't have to leave. I mean, it's a good idea in general. This is a good strategy. This is a risk mitigation strategy in general. You get a small bonus, throw it in there. You get anything, right? Something personally. You win a little lottery check. You just start redirecting funds into your buffer. Sometimes big, sometimes small. The other thing is you can look for events on the horizon. Right, I'm going to get a 5-year larger bonus. I'm going to get a tenured bonus, or whatever, a retention bonus that you get by you could negotiate a retention bonus uh, if circumstances in the company are around that. So look for that as part of an exit. Can I get some extra comp on an exit? I don't think this happens overnight. I think you get relentless, and I think there's a lot of opportunities that you can mine around to start building your buffer. But you have to do something like that. I'll tell a story. There was a young man, I forget his name, on LinkedIn, and sometimes consultants or speakers at conferences, we can be too influential, we can be too bullish. And he attended, I think, the Scrum gathering in Europe this year or last year, and there's a lot of Bob Galen types and people. Oh yeah, you can do this, and yeah, you go invest. And he came back from the conference and he was all jazzed up. Yes, I want to be an independent. So he came back, and the poor bloke, and he quit his job. He had nobody. He had nothing. He was just jazzed up. Shame on people at the conference. You should have talked him down from the ledge. But he came back and immediately quit his job. And then he sent this little. I mean, my heart went out to him. I sent him an email offline, just talking him through it. And he sent this little thing out. I'm really proud of myself. I quit my job. And then, does anyone have any work for me? And he was like, his hands were out and saying, please. I don't think he immediately got stuff, but then I think he did survive. But that's probably not the best strategy, is that. I mean, it's bold, it's courageous. It could work out for you. But I'm saying, part of this series is to be a little bit more intentional and a little bit more thoughtful about it.
And a key point that you're going to have to understand about yourself is what your risk tolerance is. There are some people that might be all over that, and that high risk forces them into a situation where maybe they operate well. And I don't have a choice, I have to do this or else all else fails, that might be a thing that some people, probably not a large portion of the population, can work in that manner. But understand your risk. And Kenya talked about how her and her husband came to a number of months that they were comfortable with. So be thoughtful about you and your family, and understand what your risk tolerance is, and understand what the risk tolerance is of your partner, if that's a thing, of understanding, right? Like, are you going to make things very uncomfortable after the first month of things, and maybe not finding that first gig yet, or whatever the challenges are, because there are going to be challenges. So definitely spend time understanding and then respond accordingly. Now, if you recognize that your risk tolerance is low, then you're going to probably need to be a little bit more.
Now look at yourself. Again, a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, it comes back to consider yourself a company, right? So you're starting up a company. You're not going to go into a bank and get financing if you just based on my good looks and my hat and my suspenders. I hate to tell you, but you're not going to get it. You're going to have some game plan, some horizon planning, some customer identification, some projections, some data, maybe some part-time data. It's that same thing. So you're actually increasing your skills, your financial, you're being a COO, CFO for yourself. That's what we're really talking about. You could do things like just reserve a credit card and have, or a line of credit, i.e. have a credit card. It doesn't always have to be cash. It has to be cognizant of what is my financial business plan from going from where am I at now to where I want to be. And it can't just be hand waving. What is my risk tolerance? But not just me personally. Remember, consider this view of you have stockholders, at least your significant other. So you want to be navigating that within your family. You want to be sort of talking about that. I think that covers the startup stuff we wanted to talk about, Josh.
I just want to throw myself under the bus. Bob talked about getting those little consulting jobs along the way while you're in your steady current job. I cannot count the number of times Bob urged me to do that in the early 2010s, because he saw the direction I was going, and he's like, you need to start doing this. You should do this. And he even fed some towards me. I was super lucky that there was a guy who's like, here's one. You could fall into it. And I didn't do a good enough job doing that. And we're going to talk about branding in part 2 and how that will help you start to create the branding you need to really launch yourself as a product/brand.
I absolutely. I mean, and there are things there to do. Oh, one thing I was really quickly thinking about, I think you did this at the Do, Josh. The other thing is reaching out to reach in. So one of the things I used to do at Channel Advisor when I was there, and it's actually I had someone reach out to me recently that I can connect back to like 15 years ago when I did tours. So I invited companies who were interested in looking at agile teams into my place with no fanfare. It was just like, sure, we'll give you a tour. You can I was proud of my teams. I was proud of my job and I was proud of the teams. And come on in. And things like that. So that's another area. It's not necessarily driving buffer, but it's driving that sort of the brand awareness, not brand awareness, but your focus awareness. You're building your brand, you're building sort of the geographical awareness and connecting to people. You could charge for it. The other thing is you don't always have to charge cash. You can have people redirect things just to get comfortable. Like nowadays, sometimes when people ask me, I did a talk for Bloomberg, Josh. So here's a quick story. I did a virtual keynote for Bloomberg in New York about coaching, and in my in my epiphany, I'm like, I want you if you're going to give me money, I'd like you to give it to Second Chance Pets in Raleigh, and we hadn't negotiated the amount, and so I like doing that. Over the years, I've done that. So give funds here. Well, they gave $2,500, Josh, to Second Chance, and it caused me to have like a second. I'm like, maybe I should have been cheaper and redirected that, and it was kind of cool. But my point is, it's not. These are just get really creative and weird about handling funding early. The earlier you do that stuff, buffers, finances, projections, etc., some part-time gigs. Think about you're negotiating a contract with someone. It's a little part-time thing. Well, you're doing contract negotiation. You're getting some practice with that.
Yep. Okay, so we talked through the things. Yeah. I feel like the fork is ready. We talked through things about how you get to the point where you're ready to go. Next episode, part 2.
Part 2.
Part 2.
So we're in and I love this. This Josh and I, everyone, when we prep these things, I'm like in French numeric mode. It just makes me happy. I don't know why. It is the worst.
And so next is going to be centered around branding and those types of things. And then we'll see where things go after that. So I was thinking about this. I don't think I've ever suggested people go back and listen. This might be one worth listening to twice. And for those of you that are out there, it's probably worth going to the YouTube and seeing the comments that scroll by folks that are watching this live, because there's some good thoughts and ideas for you to gather those little tidbits to empower you to be ready to hit the go button.
I absolutely agreed. Real quickly, I want to extend everyone. So here's our agenda, and the reason I'm sharing it is for feedback, and we have various feedback. So today's episode was starting. The second part 2 is building your brand, your network, your skills, your services, thinking about extending from today. Part 3, part 3 is kicking things off. Are you ready? Having a readiness assessment. What's the announcement? Handling clients, negotiating. We touched on some of that today. And then part I'm sorry. That's tough. Part is keeping it going. So what does it look like after you've started? Like, how do you keep the momentum going? What if you hit a dip? What to redo? Managing your buffer along the way. All right, that's something you're probably maintaining. So that's what we're envisioning is a 4-part exercise. We're not stuck on it. So we would love your feedback if that's relevant or not. All right. Hey, so from beautiful downtown, Cary, North Carolina.
And from beautiful downtown Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina, with no accent.
I'm Roberto Gallini.
I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake.
And bake.
Take care, y'all.
Oh, Stu, that's fantastic. What happens when it works? I like that. All right,
Yep.
everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the comments. And we will see you a week from now.
Take care, Josh. Enjoy the game.
You too. Take care, everybody.